What's up, YouTube? It's ArtisanMc, and today I'm going to review Cowboy Bebop, the live action on Netflix. Now, I will tell you that I have my reservations about doing a review of this, and actually doing a review of it late because I did not watch the whole series straight through. I did not binge those 10 episodes straight through. Truthfully, I fell asleep a bunch of times on it. But be that as it may, I think what I finished up today deserved a review. It needed a review, at least to just give my perspective on it for those who really wondered what my perspective was after seeing the whole thing. And I can say for the most part, I will do the sandwich method, some positive, some negative. Try to round it out with some positive. But for the most part, this series, that's going to be really damn hard. It's going to be hard for me. Cowboy Bebop is one of those animes I got into before the 2000s that me and my friends at the shop really got into. And it was one of those animes that we passed back and forth to each other like, oh man, you got to watch this, right? And with that, there came a lot of specialness to it because getting into an anime your friends recommend that really love it and you're all anime fans is something special, especially when you all watch it and you all really love it. You get into the anime, you get into the music, you get into the art, you get into the characters. There were a bunch of standouts in the original OVA anime series. When I heard they were going to make it into live action, I cringed. Literally cringed. Like, oh, don't. And then I found out who was doing it. And I heard it was Netflix. I was like, oh. Netflix does not have the best track record with adapting beloved anime into live action. They do not. Okay. See Death Note. Yeah, you can see Masters of the Universe if you want. But be that as it may, I had to give them a chance. And the chance they took on it, they wiped their ass with it. Now, I'm a big fan of Cowboy Bebop. I have a 10-inch Spike Spiegel that I have that sits on my desk. It's in storage right now, but I do because I really love the character of Spike. I really love the character of Jet. I love Ed. My daughter had a stuffed Ein. My kids watched it. My ex-wife watched it. We all watched that anime and loved it to death. It was one of those anime that you have to have and watch repeatedly, and it doesn't get old. Even today, I watched it again, and it doesn't get old for me. It's still fun. I'm still interested in it. And I did that as a way to cleanse my palate from what I finished up with the Netflix thing, just to put some pieces in place that I might have been overlooking or missing. And I can tell you, after watching the Netflix live action, I'm really disappointed with what they did with Cowboy Bebop. I really am. I mean, there's not really a way around it. I mean, looking for positive marks on this thing is difficult, but they don't outweigh the stuff that they got absolutely wrong or just half-assed. And that is not, look, I don't do this review as a labor of love. I don't. I do it just to put it out there, my voice out there, as to what I did not like about this live action adaptation, clearly. So it's out there and it's said. Now, For those who don't know, Cowboy Bebop is the live action adaptation of an anime that started in 1998. Stars John Cho as Spike Spiegel. It shows Mustafa Shakir as Jet Black, and it stars Danielle Pineda as Faye Valentine. Now, there are some other characters thrown in there, and I'm forgetting the name of the guy who played Vicious and the chick that played Julia. And honestly, they were forgettable. They were forgettable. I fucking hated Vicious in this. I hated fucking Vicious. They took one of those iconic villain characters who was complex and mysterious and turned him into a whiny, bitching, ineffectual child. Julia went the same route. Somebody who is background pivotal to the story to set up why there is a conflict between Spike and Vicious and why Spike has a hold to her so tightly, turned her into somebody who's just vying for the throne herself. And I'm like, that's not what the character was. The gyno washing goes way too fucking far. So I'll say this. For the three main characters, Spike, Jet, and Faye, John Cho, Mustafa Shakir, and Danielle Pineda. I'll say this first about Danielle Pineda is that, and this is a positive, I liked her performance better as it went on, which is a hard thing to say because I told you guys in the beginning, I didn't like her coming out before this thing even came out and having something to say to the fans because they didn't think her costume was accurate to the anime. And it fucking wasn't. So I thought it was a very bad look for one of your lead actors to come out and try to flame the fan base before the show even comes out. That's stupid. I don't know what it is nowadays with these females that are acting in movies, but they think that the claim to fame or the thing to do is to come out, get on one of these franchises and shit on the fan base. That is the dumbest thing in the world to me. What are you doing? Are you trying to give them matches and gasoline? Because they will burn this shit down. Look, I don't even play on Twitter. And I know, the Twitter bots waiting for something to say. And 150 characters are left. How you suck. Now, be that as it may, watching her performance over 10 episodes made me feel a little bit for her. I felt there was a little bit of resonance there with Faye Valentine from the anime. Okay, kudos on that. Her fucking dialogue was shit. Whoever wrote this goddamn script needs to get slapped in the face and sent back to school on script writing. This was garbage. Her dialogue was garbage. I could have heard that dialogue from a 12-year-old. It's childish. And for a moment, I caught myself saying that the dialogue was more so because she had been in cryosleep for so long. So she's coming out using dialogue how she thinks grown-ups talk now. No. You know why? Because she had fucking amnesia. There were subtle things that messed up the character that was done in the writing, which means that even if I was giving you the pass that she's kind of a person that's out of time, out of step with the current times, she doesn't have any memory of that shit anyway, so she wouldn't be talking like that, would she? She'd be talking like everybody else. From the second episode when she showed up, her dialogue made me cringe. I hated it from the jump. Didn't make me like her any. I fucking hated her. Now, as the show went on and it got to that core of Faye that I liked, Okay, she won me over. I was believing her performance a little bit more. Kudos on that. But up until that point, I was not impressed. It could have been less of her. Could have been. Now, Mustafa Shakir in this pretty much held it down. I was against the idea of making the character name Jet Black a black man. That seemed really bigoted or racist to me. Either one, you take your fucking pick. It just seemed like a little bit too on the nose and somebody having some fun at some black man's expense. But be that as it may, he did a good job playing Jet. He started out in the first couple episodes a little too bitchy a Spike, but it got to a place where you see that they have camaraderie and they are actually kind of friends, if not partners. He cares. Okay, cool. That's what you want from a Spike and Jet situation. That's what you need to have. Now, the stuff that they added into this character on top of making him black is all fucking black tropes. And I'm frankly sick of this fucking shit. I'm sick of these standard black male tropes that he has to be a convict, he got to have a broken family, he got to be an ineffectual father, broken men. What in the fuck? Was there anything else to think of besides this? I mean, really. Jet didn't even have a backstory like that in the anime. So all this shit is backfilled. It's all stuff that somebody else threw in there. And this is when it comes back to the writing. They thought this was a good idea. They thought it made something happen for the character. Fuck you, no it didn't. The hell are you doing? Who thought it was a good idea? Don't fucking tell me it was no black women sitting in that writer's room saying this was okay. But Jet wasn't the tip of that iceberg. There was more to it. I'll get to that. Now, be that as it may, shout out to Mustafa Shakir for his performance as Jet. I liked him as Jet. He spent a little bit too much time on his fucking face and being a bumbling goof at half the time, or not effective in his job. But I liked him as with the show. I liked him. Now, the other one goes out to John Cho. I like John Cho. John Cho looked like a ringer for Spike. Now, whereas John Cho laughed too goddamn much, and Spike is a little bit more reserved, I was willing to let that go a little bit because he did look the part at the very least and added some stuff to it. Some of the stuff they added to Spike's backstory was not necessary. If these people who wrote this live action show had actually watched the fucking anime ever, not just got the bullet points and just heard somebody telling them about it, they would have realized that Spike's name was fucking Spike, even in the Syndicate. Wherever the fuck you pulled this fearless shit from is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's about as ridiculous as having this character you call vicious in this shit called vicious. The motherfucker is not vicious. He's a bitch. And that's not vicious. Now, as far as Spike goes, John Cho, first couple episodes, his movements with doing the Jeet Kune Do looks stiff. Got better as he went on. Some of the fight scenes look really cool. Cool. The connection between him and Vicious later on, where they tried to touch on it. Okay, interesting. But fuck you. Here's the first fuck you. Well, the third one, if you count. I saw that already. They lifted that shit straight out of Gungrave, one of my other favorite fucking anime. Spike and Vicious were not brothers. They did not come into the Syndicate together. Watch the source material, for God's sake. Yes, they hooked up with each other once in the syndicate because they were both hitmen. And they were cool till a woman came between them. This ugly, bloated lip chick that you're calling Julia is. Look, I understand nowadays a lot of plagiarizing and sampling goes in lieu of actual creativity. There was nothing you needed to create for this show. It was all done for you already. All you had to do was put the show on screen. Because they actually did more episodes than you were doing in a live action. So there was plenty of source material. The fact that you had to lift from another anime to give these characters some kind of fucking backstory was absolutely asinine. To an anime fan, that's a goddamn insult. It's an insult to liking one show, it's an insult to liking the other. Now, beyond that ridiculous little, despite that little irritating shit with them, I get to the other two characters in this of being Vicious and Julia. And the whole thing with Vicious and Julia is that they are married. And Vicious is, in fact, the son of one of the elders of the syndicate. And he is the fuck up son of the syndicate. No, it's not who Vicious was. Once again, if you had actually watched the anime, Vicious was a soldier who was brought into this organization by the male Mao Renrai, who brought him into the organization, hooked him up with Spike. Now, if you're going to switch characters around like that, when you go in and start gyno washing shit, which taking guy characters and turn them into females, at least get the goddamn story right. What in the fuck? The hatchet job that was done on Vicious as a character, Mal Renrai as a character, Julia as a character, Grin as a character, Annie as a character. You might as well just call this something else. And it's absolutely irritating to keep seeing these companies put out material with popular IPs and then completely change the fucking IP to put their bullshit in it. I mean, at that point, what is it? A cannoli with dog spooge inside of it? What in the fuck? Now, look, my Vicious is not a bitch. Vicious in the anime is an ex-soldier turned syndicate hitman. He's not stupid. He's not a whiny bitch. Nobody runs around testing his goddamn manhood, and women do not check him. No. You know who checks Vicious? Vicious. Maybe the elders. And even then, they're skating the line. Vicious is not somebody to be trifled with. And this Vicious, as ridiculous half the time as the guy looked, He is an ineffectual fucking crybaby trying to prove his manhood. I mean, was it all women in the writing room? Is that it? Because this is stupid. The main antagonist for your main protagonist is a whiny bitch. You take away from both characters that way. I mean, you don't see how much of a badass Spike can be, and you don't see why Vicious is a threat. At the most I got in this was Spike's kind of a badass when he ain't laughing and fucking joking. And Vicious is a whiny bitch until he get the upper hand on killing some chick or something. What the fuck? Beyond that, and having Julia and Spike hooked up, or excuse me, Julia and Vicious hooked up, you get the advent of Julia, who had to have this whole drawn out fucking backstory about her being a singer and this, that, and the other, like that shit fucking mattered. Julia is not the story. Did you get that? If you ever watched the anime, Julia is not the story. Story is about the people on the Bebop. Julia is just some background shit that happened in Spike's life that leads him into conflict with Vicious and some unresolved shit between him and Vicious and him and Julia. And that love triangle right there. That is not the main story. And that character dies for a reason. Because outside of the anime, you only see her a couple of times. And once you finally see her, she's fucking dead. It's over. This bullshit you pulled with having her chain up Vicious and take over the organization, get all the fuck out of here. What is this? Am I watching Shang-Chi now? Because this looks like the exact same ending of Shang-Chi. The daughter takes over the organization. Get the fuck out of here. Who is writing this dreck? This absolute turd. The way this chick would be, which gets into the shitty writing part of this, the way she would be upset and crying at one moment and then turned around and trying to actually threaten the same dude and test his manhood and emasculate him verbally after he just had a gun to her head makes no fucking sense. Makes no sense at all. But it does make sense if you got a bunch of dumbasses sitting in the writing room. Now look, there were some good parts to this. Some of the stuff was good. When I finally saw Swordfish, I was happy. I got to see Swordfish. Swordfish was in it. I was missing Jet's Hammerhead, but okay, you ain't got the budget for that. So we're getting that small Babylon 5 season 1 feel where everything is real small. It's only happening on flat ground and enclosed areas. Okay, cool. Not a big deal. Most of this stuff happens in space and other planets. Cool. Cool. I did smile when Faye's Redtail showed up. Now that did make me smile. That was like, oh, they paid some fucking attention. You know what didn't make me smile? When you took one of the most fun episodes from that anime and cut it down into one episode of your bullshit, and it was pointless. It went nowhere after that. It wasn't even fucking accurate. You filled it with a bunch of story that we didn't fucking need, with characters that don't actually matter. Gives a fuck about ArtisanMc? Nobody. I think he was just made up. Faye's mom, who was just the nurse, who wasn't really her fucking mother, wasn't a goddamn story. That was not in the anime. That could have been cut out of there completely. In that pivotal episode, that fun episode that was revealing for everybody about Faye's backstory, would have played differently. You still came close, but no fucking cigar. The other thing that I didn't appreciate at all in this shit that was not necessary was all this sexual S&M bullshit. Now, I will tell you, like I said earlier, this was an anime I watched with my children. Now, if they were still kids, would I see myself watching this with them now? No fucking way. Cowboy Bebop ain't about no sexual shit. As close as they came to getting to some sexual shit was taking their ass out to Jupiter to meet Grin. And there you had a planet, a little town with no women in it, and the dudes was dressed up like trans. Cross-dressing. Oh well. And the weird thing that happened to Grin, because he was taking some drug in prison that caused him to develop breast and shit. Other than that, no sexual stuff is in this shit at all. Nothing. The only sex scene you kind of have is a flashback, a Spike in Julia being in bed, and Julia and Vicious being in bed. And they ain't doing nothing. You just see them in covers. You motherfuckers decided to go to full 9 and have this shit in here, where I got a sometimes scary Spike, who's sometimes called fearless, but he's scary half the time, talking about all this ridiculous, fruity sexual shit that nobody gives a fuck about. I mean, who are you in right? Who are you? What do you actually have to say? Because this was bullshit. I didn't need that. That was 10 minutes of film you could have just burned. Not necessary at all. You got fucking Grin in there, but you got Grin just being the cross-dressing dance teacher. That's not who fucking Grin was. Grin was Vicious's boy from the war. He wasn't no cross-dresser by choice. No, he didn't like girls, but he didn't just have breasts because he wanted them. It was a ploy in one episode. You motherfuckers, look. I went back and I took a serious amount of notes on every episode. And you know what I got to? Fuck them notes. It was pointless. Because when I went down the list, I started marking more minuses than pluses per episode. Some of the stuff I got, I could have did without it. The stuff that I didn't want was too much of it, too much of it. I had my fill. My only question going into this shit in the beginning was one thing and one thing only. Not if the show was going to be good, not what these other people were going to do. I'm just going to watch the show and see what it is. But I had one question in the beginning. Where the fuck was Ed? And I could have not seen Ed in this shit. Because that shit you showed me at the end of this episode was absolute garbage. I could have not seen that shit. I think y'all knew better than to put that out there in the advertisement that that was going to be fucking Ed. Because, oh hell no. What in the fuck? I mean, half the time that's what I was watching. Some boring shit. Wondering what the fuck they doing to this anime that I love. What are they doing? It's like I'm watching somebody cut up my family album or something. What are you doing? Did you watch the show? Look, you goofy asses that are writing movies now, you need to start making your own properties. Stay the fuck away from any of these popular properties. Stay the hell away from them. Do something else. Write your own shit. Make up your own stories. Because that's all you want to fucking do anyway. Between the foundation and this shit, y'all don't need to be messing with anybody else's IPs that are fan favorites. Go and make your own shit. Go write your own stories and you can put all this bullshit right into it and see how it does. You do not need to run this under the banner of something popular that people like just so you can wipe your ass with it and give them your turd sandwich. I am highly disappointed in this show. And I don't put it on the actors. I don't put it on the actors. I don't. Even Vicious and Julia, to an extent, I don't put it on them. This is what somebody wrote for them to say. This is somebody else's direction on how the character should be. They're actors. They stand on their mark. They say they fucking lines. And if the lines sound goofy, it's because the motherfuckers who wrote it goofy. I'm highly disappointed. I'm not going to say any more about this shit. If you get a season 2, I may watch it because that's my stock and trade. That's my business to know what the fuck is going on with this shit. But I won't be looking forward to it at all. I will not. There is nothing in this that I'm looking forward to. Could they turn it around? I don't fucking know. I absolutely don't fucking care. Just stop. Just stop. That's all they need to do for me. Just stop. Don't do a season 2 or give it to somebody else and let them write it. Because this shit is just that. It's just shit. Season 2, why would I care? Am I pumped up to see Ed? No, I'm not pumped up to see Ed. Ed was irritating for the 30 seconds the motherfucker was on the screen. I'm good. I'm way past good. I don't need no more of that, thank you. I'm fine. So I would have liked to have done a more positive review, but it wasn't much. Wasn't much in it. Was not much in it for me to be positive about. And as I showed you on my notepad, I got way too many minuses. Way too many minuses. And I wasn't coming into it super critical. I'm wanting this to be good. I'm a fucking fan. I want it to be good. I want it to at least be like a 5. Just get it halfway there. No. So that is my review of Cowboy Bebop. The final session of it. Thank God that shit is over. Thank you. Now I don't have to watch it again. I will go on to something else. Thankfully. Disappointment. Dis-a-fucking-point. But like, share, subscribe, leave your comments below if you feel some kind of way about it. And I'm out of here. Peace.
I conquered, I'm bald. Yeah. I came, I saw, I conquered, I'm bald. Yeah.